This video is going to show the assembly instructions for the Meridian range by Modelux. This is the 295 arch suspension bridge, primarily aimed at N gauge, although it does say on here that it's 00 gauge single track, N gauge 2 track. In reality it's pushing the scale to use it at 00, but there are requests for it, so we do make it available. There's a larger 325, that refers to the length of the bridge in millimetres, which is TT, but again can be used for N or 00. So all the components flat packed. Looks an involved and tricky and delicate bridge to assemble. There are lots of very flimsy parts. They're deliberately flimsy, made out of 300 GSM flex core material, which Modelux have treated to allow incredibly fine detail to be laser cut and etched into it. You've got the deck, and then deck railings, deck side beams. These are called overbands, which will run over the arch. Lower deck beams and cross braces for the arch. The first stage of assembly is to make the two arches. These sit within the deck and turn a very flexible, flimsy deck into a very strong structure. So starting with one assembly, there are usually extra braces, as sometimes there are cutting failures in them and they need to be discarded. Modelux don't want to start checking each one because it would make your bridge very expensive, so there's usually probably an extra 10 in there. Now these glue into the slots that run every other brace of the bridge, and when doing this it's probably best to use tweezers, and you need PVA. Right, so the first stage is to take one of the incredibly flexible arch members and fit these little braces into the slots that appear every other cross brace of the arch. Liberal coating of PVA, don't worry about using too much, and then using tweezers into the slot. Now, in common with lots of Modelux products, the braces use a system called taper grip, where there's a semi-morse taper on the tab that goes into the slot. This allows ease of location, and as the brace goes into the arch slot, it tightens up to a semi-interference fit, locating the brace pretty much exactly into the correct position without any messing about. Now, these braces are designed so there's a protrusion on the other side, so this is partly to allow ease of location, but be wary of allowing the arch to sit firmly against the construction surface, because it will push it slightly out. So try not to put pressure on the assembly until the glue is set. So it's fairly easy to locate from a distance, it's not even a close-up task. The Meridian bridge currently is available in red oxide or grey. The red oxide version, the 300 GSM FlexCore card, has been treated with real red oxide. So it's quite a good finish. This is the plain grey version. The coating we give virtually all the products allows for painting, so if you want to spray this in a different colour, it's possible to do that. It will take spray paint directly, so you can have this whatever colour you want. I'm not going to edit out any areas I make like that, so you can see it as a genuine construction experience. I'm not going to show the assembly of the second of the two arches, so I'll pre-do that one. I think seeing one is enough, and by all means I have no intention of editing this sequence out if you want to fast forward to the end of this, because you, I'm sure, get the idea of how these braces locate. Occasionally you'll see a little bit of the laser cut infill has not dropped out, so just poke it out of the way. Once you've done all the cross braces, you leave it to one side for 5-10 minutes for the PVA to set before attempting to locate the opposing arch. What's happening here, see I'm sort of struggling there, you can get PVA building up on the tweezers, and it can cause the component to stick, so just clean up the tweezers regularly if that's happening. Just check that there's, before it totally sets that there's a general degree of verticalness on the braces, which there is. You can adjust these to a degree later on. Just try and straighten out anything that's completely irregular and leave that for 5 to 10 minutes to set. Once the brace is set, liberally apply PVA sequentially onto the top of each brace. Again, don't worry if you use too much and it spills. If this was real, there'd be welding spelt and everything. It wouldn't be completely perfect. And to an extent, that adds to the beauty of the finished product. And obviously there's a time limit to mating the second element. You don't want the glue to be too sticky because the slot is quite fine. And you'll find because of the taper grip, they tend to locate themselves without the use of tweezers. That's it. So the second face is all in, just carefully using tweezers, just press to make sure each tab has gone through the slot. So that's complete. And there's the pre-made second arch. Now the deck, again to stress, 1.3mm thick, very flexible, but this is going to end up being very, very strong. Give the arch a few minutes to set. We'll locate now the one that was pre-done. So you've got three rows of slots. The outer row is for the railings, and you see that it's thicker, it's 1.3mm wide, and the inner ones are for the arch, and they're 0.6mm wide. And what you're going to need to do is apply a bead of PVA along the rails of the arch and then locate it in. And counterintuitively, this is the trickiest process of the build. So put the ends in first. As you'll see, I will make some mistakes and have to keep redoing it, but you've got some minutes to do this before the glue sets. And the reason it's tricky is obviously you've got two sets, and as one set falls into position, the other set can fall out of position. Like that. So you might need to stop and re-go. You also might see that the deck is slightly wobbly. This is normal. The idea is that once you've got all these into position, the deck will actually start to straighten up. Back to square one. Oh, that'll be a complaint coming on eBay about something. Feel free to fast forward through this if you want, but I do want to give the genuine experience of building it so that you can see that while it's not totally straightforward like that, it is achievable. So you can go into the build knowing that this is the frustratingly tricky bit. So back to square one again, but when it works, it's very satisfying. Right, it's all in. So now before anything gets a chance to pop out, and to attempt to apply some uniform pressure on the assembly to get the adhesion so that we can comfortably leave it and move on. Now it's a good idea when you've got it pretty much fixed just to apply some subsidiary glue along the contact points and apply some pressure to make sure that the whole assembly will stay in position. Okay, so it's pretty much done. We can go back to this, and if you see little gaps in the rails, what you can do is just apply again sequentially small amounts of PVA and tighten up various parts, but really what we're after is the general location. Now, you'll probably notice from above this is really twisted and unpleasant, and that will remedy later on with these overbands. They're going to pull the whole thing tighten into position, but we don't do that now, because what it will do is it will pull the arch out of its location slots. So allow that 10 minutes or so to set before attempting the opposing arch. Arches are now fitted. It's time for the overbands. Now these look very basic. Flexible bit of 300 GSM flex core with slots and tabs, but fearsomely difficult to design because obviously you've got an irregular tapering radius, and the purpose of the overbands is going to be to provide torsional rigidity and stability to the bridge. You'll see on the arch there are corresponding very shallow location indents along the length of the arch. The overbands will mate to. Liberally apply the glue again, don't worry about too much. Please don't, as some people do, use these clear non-polar solvent glues. They'll just make an absolute mess. PVA is ideal for virtually every single application. Don't need super glue or araldite or anything else. These overbands locate at the beginning. They start right at the beginning of the arc, and again you've got some time to locate, and what this will now do is it will pull the two sides of the arch into parallel. Run your fingers gently along the arc, and that will locate the overband tabs into position, and as if by magic will bring the arch into perpendicular, taking the waviness away. And once that's done, that's all the fiddly elements done, and the rest is really straightforward. So it's a bit like going on a mountain walk where you've got the uphill bit at the beginning, and then you can enjoy the shallow ridge descent to the end. Now this Meridian bridge is immensely strong once completed, and it will have absolutely no trouble taking 2 sets of tracks and 2 fully laden stationary goods trains across it. Any flexing you might see would be normal and in line with the normal flexing you would see on a real bridge, which is what you want. There's no point making this bridge out of chunky slabs of MDF, because it will be completely out of scale when done. And this obviously looks incredibly delicate, but it's meant to. The material, the thickness of the material has been chosen because it is completely in scale with the thicknesses of those materials, should it be 150 times bigger. And bearing in mind that's what it would be. So I'm rushing through this a little bit. You can take care, or more care, with this location and smoothing process. What you're doing here with the smoothing of the fingers along the radius is just to ensure consistent contact of the overband with the bridge, which it's now done. So finally, we've got, these are called the side beams, and you'll see there's these protrusions here. This faces down, and these accommodate the deck beams, which will add another degree of the torsional twisting stability. I'm not sure which it's better to do, put the side railings on first or the deck beams. I'll go with the side railings first. Now, there's no intention that the side railings here add anything to the structure or stability of the bridge, but a secondary consequence of them is that they would. Just delicately nip the railings using tweezers. Easy to damage if you pinch too hard with these, so just be careful. So absolutely being totally undecorous with the glue. Probably the vast majority of builders would then weather the bridge anyway, so again, this taper grip on the railings so it's easy to locate. And now finally the side beams and the deck beams. 8 of these. I'm just reminding myself where the deck beams actually sit. Right, so they straddle the deck completely, which means the side beams attach to the side of the deck like that. So again, bead of glue, gets fun at this stage. You can be really blasé. The delicate work is done. Make a right mess now. There's little cutouts on this, and they're pretty much in line with the top of the deck, but it's not crucial. The deck beams themselves are independent to the deck, so there's going to be no contact between any element of this and the actual base of the deck. They're going to sit over it, and that is just to provide the torsional rigidity to the assembly. So once they're there, flip it on its back, PVA between the notches and the deck beam will drop in a very satisfying manner between. In fact, it's so quick. I'm going to go pre-glue all of them. So all the deck beams, all 8 deck beams now fitted into position. The whole bridge assembly is done. You'll notice incredibly light but very strong. I'm going to demonstrate very quickly exactly how strong that once flimsy deck and incredibly flimsy arch assembly was, with the aid of some proprietary building blocks, wooden building blocks. So we load the deck up. These aren't incredibly heavy, but what is incredibly heavy is this. This is a cocktail of 1/3 beaver ginger cordial, 1/3 absolute vodka and 1/3 tonic with ice. You see it's quite a substantial glass, and it supports that with ease without any flexing or any twisting. So that's the Modelux Meridian Series 295 arch suspension bridge. There are a range of piers and ancillary components to allow this to fit within your layout.